Imagine wiring millions of dollars for a car you've dreamed about for years. The paperwork clears, the title is transferred, and at last the keys are sitting in your palm. It's legally yours, officially yours, completely yours. But then comes the twist no one warns you about. The manufacturer steps in and says they're the only ones allowed to repair it, the only ones permitted to supply parts. And if you let any independent specialist even lift the hood, you're entirely on your own. Think about that for a second. You own the car, yet you don't truly control what happens to it. How does that add up? How is that even legal? And why isn't everyone debating this? This is the exact situation Alex has found himself in with his Bugatti. What started as ownership has turned into a battle over rights, control, and who really calls the shots after the sale is complete. And if Alex pushes forward with the legal challenge he's been quietly preparing, the outcome won't just affect one hypercar owner. It could send shockwaves through the entire luxury car industry and redefine what ownership really means. Let's begin with the law, because that's where this entire battle truly starts. In October 2024, the European Union introduced its right to repair legislation. The purpose was clear and simple: stop car manufacturers from controlling the entire repair process and charging whatever they wanted for parts and service. The law focuses especially on visible spare parts, like bumpers, headlights, and body panels, the same parts brands have traditionally priced sky high. A key part of this new rule is something called the Unified Repair Clause. In everyday language, it means this: once you buy a car, you have the legal right to fix it how you choose. You can use non-original parts. You can go to independent suppliers. You can take your car to a third-party mechanic, and you should not be punished for doing so. No more forcing customers into official dealer networks. No more blocking access to basic components. The idea was to lower repair costs, encourage competition, and give car owners real freedom, the kind of freedom that should come automatically the moment you sign the purchase papers. Most importantly, EU lawmakers made one thing very clear: your warranty does not disappear just because you didn't service your car at the main dealership.
On paper, that sounds like the end of the story, but manufacturers rarely lose control without a response. Instead of openly fighting the law, they found a smarter way around it. They began offering warranty extensions, usually an extra year of coverage, but only if the vehicle is serviced exclusively within their official network. Technically, it's optional. No one is physically forcing owners to accept it. But when you're dealing with a multi-million-dollar hypercar, the idea of giving up additional warranty protection feels incredibly risky. That fear is powerful, so owners play it safe. They accept the higher labor rates, they accept the limited access. They stay quiet because the stakes feel too big to challenge. That's how the system survives. Manufacturers can't legally demand loyalty, so they create consequences that make independence feel dangerous. And most hypercar owners, with enormous investments and very little time for legal battles, choose not to fight. Until now. Alex bought this Bugatti legally at auction. The title was transferred properly. There's no dispute about ownership. The car is his. Yet the reaction from Bugatti has been silence, roadblocks, and a refusal to cooperate with his independent rebuild, almost as if the purchase came with unspoken conditions, as if true ownership still requires the company's approval. Here's where things start to get serious for them. Under European competition law, the rules are very clear and leave little room for interpretation. Car manufacturers are not allowed to force owners into using only their official service networks. They are not allowed to build a closed system that gives them total control over repairs. When independent mechanics are blocked from getting parts, tools, or technical information, it's not just frustrating. It can cross the line into anti-competitive behavior, and that is clearly illegal under EU law. The law doesn't suggest third-party access, it guarantees it. Independent workshops must be able to access parts. They must be able to access tools. They must be able to access technical data. That is the legal framework in place. So if a manufacturer refuses to supply parts, withholds technical information, and refuses to acknowledge an independent rebuild, then what is that really? It begins to look exactly like the kind of monopoly the legislation was created to stop. At this point, the conversation stops being about policy and starts being about control. The goal is simple: limit your choices, keep you dependent, lock you into their ecosystem so you keep paying their prices on their schedule for as long as they decide, even after you've already spent millions to buy the car outright. Across most European countries, once you legally purchase a vehicle, it becomes fully and unquestionably yours. Ownership is not symbolic, it is real. A manufacturer can make recommendations and issue warnings, but they cannot legally control who repairs your car after it has been sold. Trying to block a lawful repair or deny access to essential parts and information runs straight into consumer protection laws, property rights, and the basic principles of private ownership. Alex understood this from day one, and that's what sets him apart. He didn't rush into the rebuild hoping the legal side would somehow work itself out. Before the car was taken apart, before it was separated into sections, before a single component was removed, lawyers were already involved. Because from the very beginning, this was never just about repairing a Bugatti. It was about defending the right to truly own one. At its core, this was never just about fixing a car. It was about defining what ownership truly means. It was about showing that even the rarest, most expensive, tightly controlled machines on Earth still operate under the same laws as everything else. No matter how high the price, no manufacturer stands above the legal system. A massive price tag does not place a company beyond accountability. But this is where the situation becomes even more strategic. If Alex decides to take legal action after the rebuild is fully complete, the entire balance of power changes. Right now, Bugatti can hide behind certain arguments. They can claim the rebuild is dangerous. They can question whether an independent shop has the skills or tools to handle something so complex. They can present their resistance as concern for safety and engineering standards. That narrative works, at least for the moment. However, once the car is finished, once it starts, drives, passes inspections, receives certification, and proves that it performs exactly as designed, those arguments fall apart. At that stage, the debate is no longer about whether independent repair was possible. The evidence would already be sitting there, running perfectly. The real question then becomes much sharper. Why was there an attempt to stop it in the first place? Why deny parts, software, or technical data for a vehicle that legally belongs to the customer? When a fully functional rebuild exists, claims about safety and integrity lose their strength, and that is a far more difficult position for Bugatti to defend. This is why the issue stretches far beyond one car and one owner. What's at stake here is precedent. If a legal challenge succeeds, it would send a clear message that luxury and hypercar manufacturers must follow the same ownership and competition laws as the rest of the auto industry. It would confirm that the right to repair does not disappear just because a car reaches an extreme price bracket. Because think about it, if this can happen to a Bugatti owner, someone with resources, legal backing, and public visibility, what happens to everyone else? If this approach goes unchallenged, what would stop Ferrari, Porsche, McLaren, or Lamborghini from adopting the same strategy? Once one company succeeds in tightening control, others will follow. Over time, that behavior could quietly become the industry standard, and the opportunity to push back could disappear. At the heart of this entire dispute lies a simple but powerful conflict: ownership versus control, consumer rights versus corporate restriction, the right to repair what you own versus a manufacturer's desire to remain the only gatekeeper. Right to repair laws were created for moments exactly like this. They exist to make sure ownership is real, unconditional, unrestricted, and not dependent on the continued approval of the company that sold the product. When you buy something, it becomes yours. Not partly yours, not temporarily yours. Yours. End of story. Laws only matter when someone is brave enough to enforce them. A rule written on paper has no real power until a person steps forward and demands that it be tested. The truth is, most people never get that far. Legal battles are expensive. They are exhausting. They are public. So most owners choose the easier path. They pay the extra fees, follow the restrictions, accept the limitations, and move on with their lives. But Alex is not in that position. He has the financial strength to push this further. He has already prepared the legal foundation, and most importantly, he has something incredibly powerful in his hands, a rebuild that, once finished, could serve as undeniable proof. Proof that the system can be challenged, proof that the restrictions aren't untouchable. Now the real question is simple: does he take it all the way? If this dispute reaches a courtroom, Bugatti faces a serious dilemma. They can choose to fight and risk losing, and if they lose, it won't just affect them. It sends shockwaves across the entire hypercar world. A legal precedent would be created, the framework would be tested and confirmed. The tight grip manufacturers hold over independent rebuilds could suddenly become very difficult to defend. Or they could avoid the spotlight. They could quietly settle, adjust internal policies behind closed doors, and hope the noise fades away. But even that choice carries weight. A silent settlement still sends a message. It tells owners everywhere that when someone pushes back with preparation, persistence, and public attention, manufacturers are not invincible. That's not exactly a victory for them either. And here's the key point. This story doesn't end with the car being rebuilt. That was only the first chapter. The rebuild proves capability. The legal battle proves principle. You can restore a machine in a garage, but you reshape an industry in a courtroom. That's where the real rules are challenged. That's where gatekeeping starts to crack. That's where one person refusing to accept this is just how it is can create protection for every owner who comes next. If Alex stands firm when the pressure increases, and it will increase, this could become a defining case. A case that makes it clear you cannot intimidate someone into giving up rights they never agreed to surrender. A case that reinforces that ownership is not a temporary privilege controlled by a manufacturer. A case that reminds everyone that the law only works when someone is willing to stand behind it. This is bigger than one hypercar. It's bigger than one company. It's about what ownership truly means. When you buy something, is it really yours? Or is it just a controlled experience where the manufacturer still holds the keys behind the curtain? One way or another, this is only the beginning.